I love awful gimmicks. Sorry, I am part of the problem, please do get mad at me. It's just when a performer has the chops to pull it off, it's wonderful. Only in wrestling can you embrace such madness, and look, there's a lot of sports entertainment on TV. Every now and then I need some nonsense. I need it. So do celebrate with me, Simon Miller, the so bad it's actually good side of this bizarre hobby. Because here's some seemingly terrible gimmicks, which secretly we all love. Number 10, R-Truth is a 24/7 champion. This is the best way to start off because R-Truth is an all-time wrestling hero. You can go back in time to see him doing some top-tier main event serious work, or jump to more recent shows and watch the man make you laugh your ass off. Not literally. The 24/7 championship run is proof of this because I think he held that belt 54 times. It was always wonderful, and do not forget, when that belt was born and we sold this idea that it could be won whenever, wherever, without R-Truth, who knows how bad this would have been. WWE clearly felt like they had to do this off the back of the USA Network suggesting it, so it was always going to get a lot of airtime. Truth saw it as an opportunity. It just made these segments so entertaining. Plus he called himself the 7-11 365 24-hour champ. Whatever it was just excellently stupid. You also had everything with Reggie, Carmella, and the rest of the crew, and while he was already beloved, R-Truth used this to actually cement his career even more than he already had. That's why I love him and always will. This was really fun. Number 9, the Maximum Male Models. This feels bizarre to say, but the reason the Maximum Male Models didn't go further is because Vince McMahon gave up on them. Think of that. Dumb gimmicks were often McMahon's forte. This really does tie into the intro though, because being told you're going to be an over-the-top model who wrestles is ridiculous. I mean, where does it even start or end? Even though it was a bust, it also still helped LA Knight become LA Knight on the main roster. Maxine Dupree has fit in very nicely with the Alpha Academy. The core was always Mansoor and Marseille, and honestly, talk about getting it. These two had no issues being handed this and went out of their way to make it as ridiculous as possible. I mean, look at them now. They are in AEW as the MXM collection, getting proper laughs with Johnny TV. Do you know how hard it is to get a genuine chortle from a wrestling fan base? It's because they've embraced the whole thing. Of course, it feels very mid-90s WWF, which is likely where the seed was planted. I would always say this could have been like a new Iconics had we just stuck with them for a bit longer. Still find it mad they got pushed to the side. It's the silly aspect of wrestling that usually the WWE would lean into. They were certainly hard done by, but thankfully they went and sorted it out either way. Number 8, Rosie is the SHIT. Let me make it clear. I hate acronyms that spell swear words. It's always so lame. I mean, what's the joke? Rosie is a piece of shit. Okay, great. Of course, WWE claimed this stood for superhero in training, and that was the fun side of this. Rosie teaming with the Hurricane just opened the door for the pair to have some real fun in 2003, mostly because they threw themselves into it. There's that positive spin again. Some of the toilet humor was cringeworthy, but by the time they had recruited Stacy Keibler, who wore the most obvious mask of all time, they were over like Rover, the most underdog tag team WWE had. You also had Rosie turning into a killer mid-match, which people enjoyed. Plus, you got the eventual turn of Shane Helms when he decided Rosie was riding his coattails. We didn't take advantage of that as we should have done, but during a period where both guys could have gotten lost in the shuffle, they actually managed to stand out. Plus, look at those costumes. Only in wrestling. Number 7, Pirate Paul Burchill. This was actually quite lame, therefore it was great. Basically, because Pirates of the Caribbean had become such a big deal in the movie world, somebody decided we needed a pirate wrestler. Then maybe Paul Burchill walked in the room, and that'll do, here you go. If it did go that way, WWE lucked out, because Paul just decided to be Johnny Depp. He had the facial expressions, the drunken walk, and even swung in on a rope during his entrance. This is how you do wrestling. Paul also renamed his finisher Walking the Plank, and given he was feuding with old friend William Regal, they just wanted to make this as entertaining as possible. I tell you too, it worked. It was a lot of fun. I keep saying that. The issue was Vince McMahon had no pop culture references at all, so he didn't get what Burchill was doing. I think he thought Paul was just being weird. He wanted, I don't know, a guy with a peg leg. It meant this got stopped way before it had run its course, and at times I laughed out loud because, yeah, it was dumb. And therefore great We need more of this. Number 6, the Shockmaster. Go and ask Fred Ottman about the Shockmaster today. I guarantee he loves this gimmick. It has made him a fortune. If we take it back to 1993 WCW though, management thought putting him in a sparkly Stormtrooper helmet was going to be exactly what the company needed. Not even sure there was more to the character than this. It is truly bizarre. Of course, at Clash of the Champions, when he made his debut, he fell over, causing the British Bulldog to burst out laughing. It is historic in terms of wrestling. Everybody knows about this. Because of that, however, it's become a moment we sort of all bond over. If AEW or WWE had him in a cameo role, he would get a massive pop. When you get into sports entertainment, you see it eventually. It's a rite of passage. You could even have somebody trip like this on Raw and everybody would understand. So to me, this is great, even though it was never meant to be. It not being a botch would have been the worst thing ever, which means I'm actually a huge fan. Number 5, Sad Corbin. Man, this one makes me mad. It was right there. It is such a shame Baron Corbin got released in November 2024 because he did everything he was asked to the highest degree. The peak, as far as I'm concerned, was also being told to get rich and then lose it all because the results were fantastic. Corbin as ever went all the way and let his hair grow out and grew some shaggy beard before walking around backstage begging for money. This didn't come across as he was a massive loser, however, because the opposite happened. Like a true babyface, Baron was able to get sympathy from the fans who started to warm to the character. I tell you, this was a work of art. If we had just let this play out in 2021, I know it would have worked, and the eventual retribution months down the line would have been a huge moment. Instead, Vince McMahon didn't want Corbin to be the good guy, so just made him a millionaire again. It was so dumb. It really underlines how poorly managed the company was back then, as this happened totally organically, and we ruined it. I'm just gonna sum it up in a sentence. WWE did not do right by Baron Corbin. Number 4, Stone Cold is nuts. Steve Austin's heel turn always gets criticized because, yeah, it wasn't good for business. Even Stone Cold has admitted that. It didn't help numbers, so we should not have done it. Therefore, going bad guy was technically a bad gimmick, but I loved it then, and I loved it now. Sort of similar to Baron Corbin in the last entry, Austin just knew what to do in any role. He was great. The fact he went off the rails in 2001 and became totally delusional was genuinely funny, and the insane hugs he would give people, his facial expressions alone were gold. You also got the hilarious skits with Kurt Angle, Deborah, and Vince McMahon, to the point McMahon fined Austin and Kurt because they couldn't keep it together. They kept laughing and extending how long these took to record. The whole idea was that Steve was going through an identity crisis, which was summed up very nicely with this artwork from the Unforgiven pay-per-view. 3 faces of an unraveling rattlesnake. I am so happy this did happen, even if finances did suffer. I don't need to worry about WWE's bottom line, because for my entertainment, well, it filled me up nicely. Number 3, the Fiend. So I'm not sure terrible gimmick is fair, but I do remember the reactions to this when we first got the Firefly Funhouse on Raw. People didn't know what to do. I totally get this too, because it was Vince McMahon's WWE, and yeah, he had ruined Bray Wyatt once before, and now it looked like he was gonna make the man a kid TV presenter. That was utterly bonkers. Thankfully, the Fiend was from the mind of Bray, and as we know today, that was one creative son of a gun. He just understood how to be original within the wrestling world. In 2019, that felt impossible. So while, yes, talking to puppets seemed nuts on paper, after around about a month, the genius of it started to show. Do you remember when he debuted as The Fiend against Finn Balor at SummerSlam? Go and listen to that reaction. It doesn't just happen. There's still some real issues with the likes of Goldberg wrecking him or the bizarreness in the Randy Orton feud, but I shall always love this because it set Bray apart. You're never going to get anyone like this again either. He saw wrestling in a totally unique way. What a dude he was. Number 2, Stardust. I know. What? I can't help it though, because Cody Rhodes decided if he was going to be some weird alien from another realm, he was going to go all in. The irony. Cody will be the first to tell you he hated this gimmick, and it was a big reason why he left the WWE in 2016. But now he has made it to the top. Go back and watch his performances here. So funny and wonderfully silly, and Rhodes just doesn't break. He is Stardust. The cartwheels also became a nice wink and a nod, and I suppose the real joy of it is without being forced to do it, maybe he doesn't bet on himself and go and change the entire industry. It's part of the journey. There's that word. He also cut some great promos as this character, although sadly a lot of them were confined to YouTube, but you can still see them now. If for whatever reason Cody had been happy in this role, I think it would have been a delight for a good old time. We can all understand it though, because it was stupid, especially if your grand plan is to go on to main event WrestleMania. Number 1, Dude Love. I mean, his name was Dude Love. We could end it there, but we won't. The reason he gets in, though, is because without Mick Foley, this does not work. Foley does not get the credit due for being an incredible performer with an incredible range. It'd be like telling The Undertaker, you now have to be a beach boy. I'm not sure he could pull it off. Then it's not an insult either, and it's more credit to Mick, because he left his Mankind persona behind to take on this role. He was great at it, even if today I still don't really know what it was. I mean, what is a Dude Love? The other risk was that this was his third gimmick because he had Cactus Jack too, and yet he could jump between them seamlessly. He was also a breaking machine, as you can see Austin and McMahon just laughing during backstage segments. Plus, this was still Foley. When it was time to go, he could go. There's also the very nice story that this was the gimmick Mick created when he was a young wrestling fan, so seeing it play out on the big stage was just lovely. If you need proof of this, just go and say the words Dude Love to someone today, but that doesn't reveal the secret depth to this. Mick Foley is an all-time sports entertainer. Know of any other terrible wrestling gimmicks that we all secretly love? Please make sure you let me know in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and why not subscribe? You can also click the video on the screen, as I will tell you about more of my feelings towards professional wrestling, which sounds like a good thing to me, but otherwise, my friends, you have a terrific day, and I will talk to you again soon.